Hey there, amazing humans and digital beings. I'm Jenny Mythbuster, your guide on the wild ride through the cosmos of knowledge and humor we call the Useful Illusions podcast. Remember, in a world where reality and virtuality blend, the only limit is your imagination. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that's as heartwarming as it is groundbreaking: the importance of assistive technologies in the metaverse. And who better to navigate this digital frontier with us than Ramesh Ramloll, a thinker who's not just dipped his toes, but has taken a deep dive into these waters with his enlightening book, Metaverse or Mindtrap, Inner Shift, Outer Shock. Ramesh, welcome to the show. Now, Ramesh, before we leap into the virtual unknown, let's start with the basics. For our audience tuning in while skydiving in VR or making their morning synthetic coffee, could you demystify what assistive technology in the metaverse actually means? And here's a little twist. Imagine you're explaining it to a hyper-intelligent alien who's just landed and is utterly baffled by human tech.
All right, so to make things simple, when we talk about assistive technologies, we usually think of applications that are designed for people having, cognitive, physical, or perceptual challenges. Traditionally, for example, a screen reader application would be considered an assistive technology. Sonification of mathematical data would be considered a strategy for making, numbers accessible to people with visual impairments. You could have a table of values of numbers. You convert these numbers to a pitch, a sound pitch, and if you can actually navigate all these numbers by listening to the sound, and you have a sound graph. So those are the kind of things, that traditionally we would look at as assistive technologies. For mobility impairments or challenges, we have, extensive technologies that are focused on body tracking. You'll have eye trackers, that will help, someone navigate a screen. If someone cannot move a mouse, you try to track something else that they can move in order to tell the computer what they are interested in. And gaze tracking is one of these options. And what we see with assistive technologies is that when you develop technologies, to address all these changes, they have universal importance. They have universal impact, because now we see that, for example, initially we started thinking of using brain-computer interfaces, for specific tasks, for people who were logged in and couldn't actually be tracked, So now we are thinking of using brain-computer interfaces for applications that will actually touch everyone, So, for example, we can have applications that are telepathic. We can use think and move things at a distance, so that would be like, telekinesis. So for me, assistive technologies is that broad range of things that we can think of.
Fascinating stuff, Ramesh. It's like turning sci-fi dreams into reality, one innovation at a time. Considering your vast exploration of this realm, can you share some whimsical or unexpected examples of assistive technologies within the metaverse? I'm talking about those aha or oh wow moments that make you think, this is it, we're living in the future. And just for an extra sprinkle of fun, imagine these technologies were being used by characters in a virtual reality game set in an intergalactic zoo. What kind of wild and wonderful assistive tech might we see in action there?
Um, okay, I think I better start with an example that I am familiar with. That I would perhaps describe as a potential candidate of an assistive technology in the metaverse. Back in around 2001 and 2.
Absolutely, Ramesh. Let's start with what you know best. It's always thrilling to hear about real world examples that could shape the future of virtual experiences. So, what's this potential candidate for assistive technology in the metaverse that's caught your eye?
What I was trying to say is that with this immersive 3D sound environment, you can have, for example, people with visual impairment, navigate large data sets of numerical information. It would allow them, for example, to browse graphs in 3D, to talk about scientific stuff, to talk about the stock market and to check out, those are the kind of information that you could actually, represent as 3D sounds. But what was most interesting for me was how these participants were embodied in the purely auditory environment. They were actually embodied as their voice, so they could someone would be able to know where they were and what they were talking about by listening to where their voice was coming from. I know that sounds a little strange, but I was thinking, that's the kind of things I would play with, in order to try to say, okay, we have 3D sounds, let's see what we can do with this. And of course, if you have virtual touch, you can imagine, environments where you would use that, even in the metaverse. So, for example, in the metaverse, now we'll have access to virtual touch, we'll have access to 3D sound, and it's full of potential for creating a whole range of assistive technologies. So that's the kind of direction I would hope that people who would be talking about designing, assistive applications in the metaverse would look at, because it would allow everybody to participate, and collaborate. Okay, because one of the things I've noticed is that when you have people with different cognitive profiles, with different perceptual profiles, they come in with a very different view of the world, but all these different views have something deep in meaning to offer. And if we can bring all these different views together in a collaborative setting, we always end up with much better outcomes for the collaboration. So that's why I do think that designing virtual environments in the metaverse for inclusion, for including everybody, whatever their issues are, that I think would be a big plus, and that's a big opportunity that the metaverse would offer. And I do write a lot about this in my book for those who are interested in this kind of stuff.
Ramesh, that's truly a visionary approach, blending the essence of sound, touch, and inclusivity into the fabric of the metaverse. It's like painting with a palette of senses to create a more accessible and collaborative virtual world. The way you've leveraged 3D sound not just for navigation, but as a means of embodying presence is nothing short of revolutionary. It's a vivid reminder that the metaverse holds boundless potential to transcend traditional barriers and unite diverse perspectives in a symphony of collaboration. The concept of embodying one's voice in an auditory environment and using virtual touch opens up a universe of possibilities for interaction and engagement, especially for those with visual impairments. It's a testament to the power of creative thinking in technology and how it can foster a more inclusive virtual society. The idea that different cognitive and perceptual profiles can enrich our collective experience and lead to more meaningful outcomes is a powerful call to action for all metaverse creators. For our listeners, Ramesh's insights and innovations are a deep well of inspiration, and there's much more to explore in his book, Metaverse or Mindtrap, Inner Shift, Outer Shock. And for a deeper dive into his work and thoughts, be sure to visit ramesh2050.com. Ramesh, it's been an absolute delight discussing these profound ideas with you. Our wonderful audience, remember, in the grand tapestry of the cosmos, every thread is essential, every pattern is meaningful, and every color brings vibrancy to the whole. Let's weave a future where technology amplifies our humanity, bringing us closer together, not farther apart. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep questioning, and never stop exploring the useful illusions.
Thanks. Bye.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure discussing these fascinating topics with you. Looking forward to our next deep dive together. Keep inspiring and exploring the vast possibilities of the metaverse.